Hello and welcome along to the Panto podcast. This week my guest is funny man Pete Lindup. He tells me how he became a dame, his love of recording music, and all about what happens when Panto goes wrong. So please, sit back and enjoy the latest Panto podcast. My guest for today's Panto podcast is Pete Lindup. Hello, Pete.
Hello, Ed. Nice to see you.
It's lovely to see you too. We've
Jolly
been
good.
chatting away like I do with most of my guests before,
Yes.
before I even hit the record button.
Okay.
Did you come from them from a theatrical family?
They weren't professional entertainers, no, but they were always very keen on it, if you know what I mean. They were always into entertainment. My father was an artist, actually, a scenic artist. But he ran a little Amdram company and he had a concert party. My mother was very musical and he would put on these shows at the local church hall. He never really got past that stage, the concert parties at the stage hall. But he was very keen on pantomimes. And him and his brother used to go along to, we came from Leeds, you see, originally, and they go along to the Theatre Royal in Leeds to see the pantomimes there every year. A fellow called Francis Laidler put them on. Is that a name new to you?
Yeah.
Came from Bradford. But he put the pantomimes on at the Leeds Theatre Royal every year. And there's a nice little story about that. Anyway, they go back home, write down what they'd seen and put them on at the local church hall. This is years before I came along, you see. When I was old enough, he put me into one of these pantomimes. When I say old enough, I was 8, you see.
Okay.
He was, because he was a scenic artist, he painted all the scenery, he wrote all the script, he produced it, directed it, and played a character in the pantomime as well. And that particular year it was Aladdin and His Wonderful Lamp. So I played a character called Wishy Washy. My father was a dame, you see.
Oh, brilliant.
So my first appearance, in front of a paying audience, was to leap out of a dolly tub. Now, there may be one or two people listening who don't remember dolly tubs, but they were what you did your washing in before you had washing machines.
The thing with the big handle on.
It was just a tub, literally
Was that
just a
what it
tub
was?
filled with hot water and soap flakes. So I leapt out of this, and and for some reason, my father could explain, we mimed to a recording called A Couple of Swells. You see, comes from an MGM musical, A Couple of Swells. Why, I really don't know why. One of my dad's daft ideas, and apparently it was quite hilarious. I mean, they must have been really hungry for entertainment. But I think it's because I was only 8 and miming perfectly well to this Fred Astaire voice, and my father mimed me to Judy Garland. I suppose it was hilarious. So that was my first induction into being an entertainer. But before that, my first interest in the world of entertainment came through being taken to a pantomime.
Which one? Do you remember?
I don't remember actually, because I had no interest in the show at all. My interest was taken solely by the fellow in the orchestra playing the drums. I just watched him all the way through it, apparently. I say apparently because I was only 3, you see. So I don't remember it. The most momentous day of my life, and I don't remember it at all, other than we got back to this was, by the way, this was in a place called the Empire Theatre, in a place called Dewsbury, which is in the West Riding of Yorkshire. And we lived in Leeds, and when we got back home, apparently I tried to demonstrate what I'd seen this fella doing with pots and pans and biscuit tins, pair of spoons, and it wouldn't go away. It wasn't a passing fancy. And this drummer was so impressed, he provided me with my own set of drums. This drummer, who by a strange coincidence happened to be my granddad, is my grandfather. He was resident drummer at the Dewsbury Empire. That could be a booking, or it is a cancellation.
Yeah.
Yes, that'll be him now. Oh dear. Why do you ring just when you're not supposed to? Is that a number I recognise?
PPI.
02. I don't answer 02.
That could be London calling.
No, well, they'll leave a message.
Yes.
So, shall we start again or carry on?
No, we'll carry on.
We'll
We'll
carry
keep that
on.
in. It's part of the fun.
Right, where was I?
So your granddad's.
Yes, he was a resident drummer at the Dewsbury Empire. Well, it opened, actually. It opened in August 1909. He was 15. And he was still there when it closed, 45 years later. So he was a good role model, because he was a good drummer and he could hold down a job. So that was it. He taught me how to play the drums.
What was his hearing like? All that
Hearing?
time?
He was okay. He was a little bit deaf towards the end, but that's nothing to do with drumming.
So that started you off.
Yes, I knew exactly
your
what I wanted
career.
to be at the age of 3. And he got me my first set of drums when I was 5, taught me how to play, hold the sticks, daddy babby, all that, and that was it. Didn't want to be an engine driver, didn't want to be a footballer, that was it. Well, there's not a lot you can do at 5 years of age, of course. So not a lot happened.
So how did that then sort of progress as you got older?
Well, as I say, both my parents were into. My mother was very musical as well. She played the piano and a very good xylophonist, because her father taught her as he taught me the drums. He was a percussionist, really, and they were, as I say, he put on these pantomimes. He used to go around entertaining in church socials, that sort of stuff, you know. He did a lightning cartoon act, which was drawing cartoons on sheets of paper, turning them upside down that looked like something else. And then they would do this comedy mime act, you see, which intrigued me because I found I could do it. I could mime to these records. So whenever he wasn't around, I'd get the neighbourhood kids in and lock the door and clown around to these records. And he caught me doing it and entered me into a talent contest when I was 10. There was a big event in Leeds, actually, called the Children's Day in those days. Kids competed with each other in sports events, sprinting and whatever, gymnastics. And then there was this talent contest called the Young Entertainers. So he entered me into that. And that's all I could do, mime to these recordings. It was a soprano singer, a violinist, a duet, baritone and tenor duet, and of course the one record you had to mime to if you were a comedy mime act was the Barber of Seville. I am the victim of the tad make me, and all the other kids, little kids, 6, 7, playing Mozart, and girls playing brass instruments and all that kind of stuff. Lads playing violin, elocution, ballet, lots of song and dance kids, and I couldn't do any of that. But despite my obvious lack of talent, I came in second in that talent contest. I suppose because it was so different to everyone else. But it's still not playing the drums, is it? You know?
No.
So anyway, he put on a concert the following year for the coronation week. Before you ask, it was Elizabeth II's coronation. Wasn't George VI or Queen Victoria. And he put me in it, played the drums, singing my party piece, which was a song called The Seaside Band, which was one of Arthur Askey's songs. And he put me in that, so I'm playing the drums at last. But not a lot happened really, and we went around with this concert party of kids, the Young Entertainers Prize winners, and then I went in for it the following year. Didn't get anywhere that year, and then my mother was a xylophonist, as I say, and she took on the odd, any kid who wanted to learn, she'd teach them the xylophone, and there was one boy and girl who were particularly good. So we decided on this third year that we would form a trio, percussion trio. I was 12 by then. I played the drums and a bit of glockenspiel, and the other boy and the girl played the xylophone, and this act was formed for us. We went in for this competition and we walked away with the first prize. There was no contest. Absolutely walked away with it. Amazing. So we went around with the concert party kids, and we got gigs on our own, jobs on our own, playing for Works Dues, the cabaret, and we're in a pantomime in Leeds as a speciality act, and we got on television. Great. At last I'm playing the drums in public. Excellent. But then, of course, the girl, she was 2 years older than me, she reached the ripe old age of 15, left school, got a job, didn't want to be a xylophonist anymore. So that was the end of that after about 16 months. So it's back to the comedy mime act again. Just doing that.
And then what happens?
And then what happened? Well, I did this act. I never won anything doing this comedy mime act. So then we decided I'm going to have a surefire winner that can't possibly fail. So between us, I was 13 by now. Me and my father, devised a surefire winner act, which was a takeoff of a BBC request programme called Housewife's Choice, you see, which dates it a little bit. I explained that you could do this on TV if you had an enterprising disc jockey. And so my dad made me a dummy BBC microphone, had this table with these cardboard records on it, and I read out all these requests, you see, Morning, housewives. I was only 13. Morning, housewives. The first request is for Mrs. Feather, the pillows, Sleepy Hollow beds. It was that kind of humour, you see. And I'd nip behind a screen, put on the wigs and whatever, and mime to the... Now, I was very fond of this act. I thought it was clever, because it was zany, you see. It was crackers. And I think that appeals to a 13-year-old lad. Balmy. And I put on a pair of white gloves with faces on them, and a little wig stitched to each glove, and I wore a wig, and I mimed to a song called Sugar Time, Mother Maguire Sisters. It was stupid like that. And but the piece de resistance, you see, was a takeoff of Liberace. Now then, the housewife's favourite. My dad built me a dummy piano. He was very resourceful, the father. A dummy piano on casters, and you turned it round, you lifted the lid, there was a candelabra there, and my mother had me made a pink tailcoat with sequins on the lapels. And you see, Liberace at that time was just in the middle of a UK tour, so it's very appropriate. I thought, I must win with this. I must definitely. How can you not fail with this act? You can't. Well, I did. I came second. And to add disappointment to disbelief, I was beaten by a skiffle group, of all things. A skiffle group. I was mortified. How can the judges prefer these unintelligible kids? My name's Ronnie, what do I do? To what I was doing. Anyway, I just swallowed my pride, and we continued with the going down with the young entertainers, you see, concert party, doing church halls, schoolrooms, retirement homes, hospitals, and all that. But then when I got to 15, my parents had got a bit disenchanted with Leeds, I suppose, and we came to Blackpool. And that was their turning point. Yeah. So I was enrolled in the art school, and my dad took up this hobby of writing and producing pantomimes again. How old would I be then? 16, 17. I'd given up wanting to be a performer by then. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to play the drums. So I said, I'll play the drums for your pantomimes. I'll sit there in this church hall, no one will notice me. And, as luck would have it, I was spotted by a local comedian, impresario, by the name of Jack Story. Now, Jack Story put on shows every year at the St Anne's Pier, and it just so happened he was looking for a drummer for his next summer season. Spotted me playing the drums, and he offered me the job right there and then. Great, I'm playing the drums, what I wanted to do when I was 3. 15 years later, I've achieved the lifetime's ambition. It's ridiculous, really.
And did you enjoy
absolutely
playing the summer season?
Oh, yeah, I lapped it up. I just absolutely did. Playing in the theatre for a summer season show in St Anne's was excellent, yeah. It was an old-time music hall, which is rather prophetic, I suppose, considering how many I've done since. And I thought, great, I was going to art school during the day, dishing up and washing up in the boarding house, catching the... Was it a number 11 bus to St Anne's, 1 and 10 return, and I absolutely lapped it up. I took to it. I kept my eyes and ears open. I listened to all the jargon, theatrical jargon, you see. I knew what flies were and wings, but I learnt that the footlights are called floats, the stage is called the green, the backcloth is called a cyc. I learnt all these words, you see, and the half-hour call is announcement they make 35 minutes before the show starts. I learned all this, took it all in. I thought it was great. And I didn't want the season to end. Come back into real life. And I thought that would be it. Done it. I'd achieved my lifetime's ambition. Right, so what do I do now? Well, I left art school, and I started doing what you call gigs, around hotels, playing for functions, dance or whatever. So there was that going on as well. Other work came in just that one season. Anyway, I'm about to leave art school, wondering what to do, when up pops Jack Story again. He said, I've got the North Pier season this year. Would you like to do it? Of course I would. Yes, of course. But I am leaving art school. I'm looking for a full-time job. he said, well, while you're looking, he spoke like that, you know, he was a real brother Lancashire comic. While you're looking, why don't you do the season? You see, starts at Easter, we do Easter week, and then we start rehearsing for the summer season the week after Easter. I mean, 4 weeks rehearsal was nothing for him, you know. He wanted everything to be absolutely perfect. And then we open at, well, they called it Whitsuntide in those days, right through to the end of the Illuminations. Now, that is a long time when you're 20. And, yeah, of course, brilliant, yeah. So that was another season. And that was fantastic. I really enjoyed that one. At the old, it was called the Arcade Theatre on the North Pier. It's that Merry England stuff is there now in the same area. But, I mean, that was a fantastic, mid-60s in Blackpool. It was just an incredible place. Just heaving with people all the time. You know, and everybody was here in Blackpool as well in the other shows. Morecambe and Wise at the ABC, the Black and White Minstrel Show at the Opera House with Stan Stennett, who I worked with a lot. Kenny Ball and his band at the Winter Gardens Pavilion with Jimmy Clitheroe. Thora Hurd at the Grand Theatre with Freddie Frinton. I was on the North Pier with Jack Story. Tommy Trinder at the other end with Three Monarchs. Bob Monkhouse on the Central Pier with Neville King.
My goodness.
There's a theatre called the Queens. That had Freddie and the Dreamers, Donald Pierce, Tommy Cooper, Julia Warris, and of course Charlie Caroli at the Tower. It's just incredible scene in those days. That's just the theatres, you know. There were 12 theatres, and all these sort of clubs and working man's clubs all had the summer season shows. Number One Club, Central Working Man Club, Leighton Institute, the Planet Room, the Ocean Room, and there was a cabaret restaurant in Talbot Square in those days. Used to do weekly cabaret. It was called, you won't believe it, was called the Move and Pick. This place. that was the name of it, Move and Pick, and they'd have weekly cabaret there. You know, Bobby Bennett one week, Freddie Davis. And one week I saw the sign going up. It said, this week, new style comedian, Les Dawson. I thought, who's Les Dawson? Never heard of him. Amazing. So if you were a comedy fan, as you are, I know, you could come to Blackpool for a week and you could see Morecambe and Wise, seagulls on the roof, Morecambe and Wise, Stan Stennett, Jimmy Clitheroe, Thora Hurd, Freddie Frinton, Jack Story, Tommy Trinder, Bob Monkhouse, Neville King, Julian Warris, Tommy Cooper, Charlie Caroli, and Les Dawson, all in 1 week. Well, you'd have to stay a fortnight, wouldn't you? Yeah.
You would.
And all within walking distance of each other. It was just an incredible scene, was that? It must have peaked that year.
Did you get to see much then if you were working?
Well, that's the trouble. I never got to see the other shows, you know. Not unless they overlapped, unless they started before our show did. So I did get to see Ken Dodd at the Opera House, and then I saw Jimmy Tarbuck at the ABC, because our show started before theirs or finished before theirs, yeah. I saw a show called Hair at that was the Winter Gardens Pavilion, and but you couldn't see the other shows, you see, because I was in one myself. But of course, before that, we did come to Blackpool every year. So I did see, well, I actually saw Ken Dodd in his very first summer season. That was at the Central Pier in 1955. Yeah, and he wasn't starring, of course. It was halfway down the bill, but I distinctly remember seeing him to this day, and he stole the show for me. Absolutely stole the show. Well, a big lunatic coming. I was only 10. This big lunatic coming out, you know. By Jove, Bishop. I've been down the beach all day. The things you see down there, the cockles, the mussels, the crystal pools, the sandy bottoms. Oh, I was to sit next to an old lass. She said, I think it's disgusting the way these young fellas ogle all the girls on the beach. I said, I know. Sometimes I feel like hitting them over the head with my binoculars. She said, I believe brains are more important than beauty. Of course they are. Can you imagine the lads on the beach saying, boy, get a load of those brains? Now, I know that because there used to be a programme called Blackpool Night. My father just got a tape recorder and recorded them on Blackpool Night, his spot. And I still have it somewhere in the tape.
Crikey.
So that's why I remember it, yeah.
And this bustling town that your parents moved to, just...
Yeah.
That must have been a gift for you.
Well, it would be, yeah. And my father soon got a job at the Pleasure Beach as the head scenic artist. which what he was, a scenic artist. He did all the backdrops for all the rides. Marvellous stuff, yeah. Of course, he was working all year round. I was just doing seasons, so...
What were you doing when you weren't working the season?
Well, exactly, what do you do? Well, the end of the first season, I went to the Labour Exchange, and they put me on... I went to work for the post office, actually, walking the streets. Well, they say it's better than walking the streets, isn't it? Being the postman. Well, it isn't. And at the same time, I was offered a short season playing for a pantomime at the what they call the Royal Pavilion on Rigby Road. That was quite a hectic couple of weeks, really, because it overlapped with the job at the post office. They gave you this 6-week trial at the post office, and if you liked it and they were okay with you, you could apply to be permanent. Anyway, while I'm doing that, I'm playing for this pantomime, having to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go down to the post office, get my sack and sort out all the letters in the pigeonholes, and go down to make the first delivery, come back, another load for you to deliver, and then what time would we finish? Midday, 12:30. Go along and play for the matinee of this pantomime, and then the nighttime show, coming back about 10:30 at night, going straight to bed because I had to be up at 4 o'clock to deliver the letters. Anyway, this producer of this pantomime offered me a summer season at the good old St Anne's Pier, so I never took up the option of the post office. No content. And at the same time, who should pop up? Jack Story. He said, we've got the Central Pier this year. Really, it's not the full season. Oh dear, no, we're doing Easter, early season, every Sunday, and the late season. I said, well, I've been offered St Anne's Pier. He said, we could do them both. You won't start until the end of June. You'll finish the first week in September, so you can do them both. So that was another very good year. Pier hopping, yeah. Doubling on 2 piers, yeah. If you get a few gigs as well, that did help, of course. That was always the problem. What do you do out of season? I did play for pantomimes at round Manchester, mostly for a fellow called Nelson Firth. I suppose his name's cropped up, has he, with your travels?
It has, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it might do, yeah. Nelson Firth. He had pantomimes all over the place. So you do that, 6 weeks, whatever. Plenty of gigs, play an odd week at the Opera House, odd week at the Winter Gardens Pavilion. And you got by, really, in those days, you know. Didn't earn a fortune, but I always think if you can make even a meagre living doing what you want to do, far better than having a mundane job, which pays better, but you hate it. That seemed the best option to me in those days. Do what you want to do, and if you can make even a meagre living, you're doing okay in those days.
So when did you leave the pit?
Right. Well, in the meantime, I'd acquired a few other instruments, as you can see lying around here. Bought a trombone at the end of the first season. I just was fascinated by the trombone, you see, so I went over to Leeds for it, to the music shop there. £12.10. That's not the rail fare, that was the price of the trombone. And I was still at art school, and I went along to this music class you could join at the art school, you see. I'd like to play this, please. It's a trombone. And the music teacher said, well, are you having lessons? No. Well, have you got a tutor? A handbook? No. I can play you a scale. Pa, 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 pa. He said, oh, you don't need lessons, you can play it. He was Welsh, you see. Here's some exercises, practice those, come back, see how you're getting on. And he was sufficiently impressed to put me in this music ensemble. They were forming, he was forming, playing the trombone. I didn't tell him I was playing the drums for the summer season show, because he'd have me doing that. And then, of course, as I said, Jack Story turned up. He used to come round here, actually, and bring his pianist round to go through the production numbers. Shaners, we call them. And he sees me trombone lying around. Whose is that? I said, well, I've just got it. He said, oh, we'll put that in the show. Well, hang on, I've only had it a few months. He said, no, you show them what you can do. So he's very encouraging. And then about 30, I think I acquired a cornet as well, like a trumpet cornet, and started playing that. And well, bit by bit, I joined an act when I was doing the South Pier. I did about 6 seasons on the South Pier playing for the show, And one of the acts on the bill was a comedy instrumental act called Nuts and Bolts, you see. And my favourite act of all time in variety had been a similar act called Sid Millward and his Nitwits, which was a comedy band. Great, a 10-handed act. And they were they descended from Sid Millward's Nitwits, although there were only 4 of them. And we got along great, of course. And by that time I started making some sort of very crude multi-track recordings. And because I'd got a tuba, trumpet, trombone, and what else did I have? A banjo, because if you're making multi-track recordings, you've got to have an instrument played all the way through. You know, you can't just start with the trumpet, because what do you do when your trumpet's not playing? So I sent for this banjo and learnt a few chords, and I played them to these nuts and bolts we used to call round. And they said, it's great. She said, we're thinking of enlarging the act to a 5-handed act. Would you be interested? I said, absolutely, of course, yeah. Would you like to be the 5th member? I said, of course. So 5 years goes by, and I'm still on the shortlist, apparently. And then he rang me up. It was a Friday morning, I remember. Ron Regan was the chap who ran the group. He was part of the act. And he said, where a little guy called Howie Morgan was in the act, Dr. Bolts, he's been taken ill. Could you replace him and do this tour with us? We do a tour in Germany. Oh, right. I said, well, I'll think about it. He said, well, don't think about it too long, but we're going in 3 days' time. I said, what? I can't learn the act at that time. Oh, a week's time, whatever. Okay, all right. So I hurtled down to London, and we ran through the act 2 or 3 times, 2 or 3 days. Off we go do this tour of Germany. You see, not the German camps, the British camps in Germany. So that's got me out of the pit to start with, you know, being in this eccentric act. But I still had a season at the Central Pier to do, which was 24 weeks. It takes a lot to cancel that, just to do a few gigs that might come up with the act, you see. So I thought, well, I haven't got 24 weeks at the Central Pier on my doorstep. Be a wrench to cancel that. So I went back to the pit again, thinking to myself, well, if you've been in an act, you can do your own act by now. You know, you know a few quips, you know a few gags, you've got these instruments. So I spent the summer writing out parts for myself and thinking of quips to do, got myself a half-hour spot, and I persuaded someone to use me as an act rather than in the pit. That was in 1984. I ended up doing a pantomime, my very first pantomime, at the Lyceum at Crewe, it was.
What were you playing?
I was playing a character called Alderman Fitzwarren. It was Dick Whittington and his cat. And now, I never acted on stage before in my life, except when I was 8. So I thought, now then, they're expecting an actor here, aren't they? So I bought myself a coat, you see, one of those, what do you call them, corduroy type coats, and I put a scarf around my neck and I wore a flag. At least I looked like an actor, you see. What to do with my script. And of course I had the opening line in the Dick Whittington, of course. And I thought, how can I play this? Because I'm not an actor, really. Well, Alderman Fitzwarren, of course, is a shopkeeper, isn't he? Now, who do I know who's a shopkeeper who could base it on? Well, the only one I could think of was, of course, Arkwright from Open All Hours. I thought, I'll play it like Arkwright, without the stammer, you know. And I got away with it. Good morning, citizens of London, and what a beautiful morning it is. Just right to part some unsuspecting Londoner from his money. So I played like that, and I wrote a song to do as well. And it was great. It was great. I enjoyed it very much. Did an instrumental spot, but there was a young lad called John Barker who played the captain. You know, there's a captain of a ship in Dick Whittington, Captain Scuttle, and he did an instrumental act as well. Now, the producer didn't want 2 instrumental acts. He said, I want you to do something together. Right, okay, like what? I said, well, what do you do? He said, well, I play the violin. What do you play on it? He said, Sweet Georgia Brown. Oh, that's okay, yeah, I know that one, yeah. All right, then, what do you play? I said, well, I play the penny whistle. What do you play on it? I said, Chinatown. They said, oh, that's okay. There's a piano in the wings. We'll make sure that's on the set. I'll accompany you on the piano. Right. And then we'll do something to finish off with. What about, I said, well, what tune can we finish with? He said, what about Mama Don't Allow? Now, this lad's only 19, and he knew all these old jazz tunes, you see.
Brilliant.
And so he wrote the music out, and if I say so myself, it was the hit of the show. So unexpected, yeah. So that got me through that season. The comic from Liverpool called Johnny Hackett, he was, they called him Simple Simon in those days. I don't think you can now. And an old-time dame called Billy Wells. He'd been around for years, of Billy Wells. And he used to do this routine called the cocktail party. The four of us on, it's a front cloth. You know, you do it in front of the cloth whilst they're changing the scenery at the back. Behind, the four of us on stage, and he comes on the day with this tea trolley, with 4 glasses on it and a jug of water. You're going to have a cocktail party. What would you like? I'll have an orangeade, please. So he pours out the water and it comes up orange in the glass. And then, what would you like? A limeade. Right, that comes up green. I'll have a Tizer. It comes up red. Of course, the comic all the time is saying, I'll have a Guinness, please. Where'd you turn? Anyway, this particular matinee comes out with this trolley and the glasses. There's 4 of us on stage. And he's saying, it's all gone wrong. Pardon? It's all gone wrong. What's he talking about? He poured the first glass and it came up clear water. You see, he'd forgotten to put the crystals in or something. I don't know. Oh dear, I must get back to the kitchen. So he goes off with his trolley, and there was a girl in the lineup. She went off, and Captain Scuttle, he went off, followed her off. Now bearing in mind I'd never done the pantomime before, I stubbornly refused to leave because I knew they wouldn't be ready at the back. You know, it's a 5-minute sketch. So there's just me and Johnny Hackett left on stage, and I went into these stupid feed lines for him. Something like, I said, there you go, you're always messing things about. How do you manage to do so many stupid things in one day? Well, I get up early. Honestly, you are next to an idiot. How do you do? Pleased to meet you. I was thinking of all these, hoping he'd pick up on them, you see. And it ended up with a cake. They had this prop cake, great big cake, you see, prop cake. Covered in cream. It's actually shaving cream, of course. I said, go get the cake, do something useful. I don't know. If he'd twice the brains, he'd be a half-wit. I'm thinking of all these lines to put in. So anyway, he was tagging around with this great big prop of a cake covered in this shaving foam. And I'm thinking, well, I'm not falling in it. Because the dame's supposed to fall in it, you see. You think, well, I'm not falling in it. Careful to you, to me. I tripped Johnny up and he fell into this cake. Blackout, cue, on with the show. So I raced back upstairs, because my dressing room's right at the top, thinking, you flaming idiot, he'll eat you alive when he comes off. He'll have you for breakfast. Oh my God. I must have apologised to him, I must say something. And there was a timid knock at the door. There's Johnny, covered in this foam, wiping it off. He said, oh, thanks for that. Thanks for not leaving me on my own. Oh, it's all right, Johnny. Yeah, no, I wouldn't leave you on your own. I thought he was going to jump down my throat, of course, but he wasn't. He was very appreciative.
And what was the reaction from the powers above?
I really don't know. I never found that out. I suppose they thought, well, at least we got the cue for the change of scene. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember. I know Johnny was very appreciative, so I thought, well. There might be a future with this if I can think on my feet. You never know. I don't know.
You've mentioned so many instruments, and you seem to be able to pick them up really quite easily.
Well, I had a great affinity. I was a great fan of traditional jazz. You see, it was the trad era when I was a youngster, and I say I always liked the trombone. I had the one lesson from that fellow at the art school, and then I bought I had a tuba as well. That's right, the tuba. Then the cornet. I'd be about 30 when I started playing that. Penny whistle. I got that actually from doing a season in the Isle of Wight. Pantomime, great pantomime called Alton Douglas. He was a comic in those days. And he booked a season in the Isle of Wight. He said, I could get you in as the drummer if you wanted to go. I said, well, it's a long way from Blackpool, Isle of Wight. Why would I want to go that far? He said, I think you will when you find out who's the top of the bill. I said, well, no matter who it is, it's still a long way to go. Who's the top of the bill? He said, the Temperance Seven. Get me a contract. Okay. Yeah, that may be quite fun, that. I mean, it was great band, Temperance Seven. Played in this sort of pseudo 20s style. Another Sid Billward and his Nitwits, really. And they were great guys, great season. And one of them played a penny whistle, you see. Will Hasty was called. He played alto, clarinet, and the penny whistle. Brilliant player. And I thought, well, if he can play that, maybe I can, you see. I don't know. So I got myself the flageolet is called, actually. Flageolet. Are you used to flageoleting? No.
No.
I don't recommend it in the wind. No. Very simple to play, really. And so I was ready when the nuts and bolts thing came through. Yeah, I had all these instruments anyway. And it came from there, really. You know, time went on. I did summer seasons, pantomimes, tours. And I'd already met a chap you've heard about and never met called Dougie Chapman. And first saw him at the Tower Lounge, actually, years ago. He was a chairman of a music hall. And that's when I first saw him at the Tower Lounge in the 60s. And then I played at the Tower for 2 or 3 years. And he used to come in the Tower and chat to us, as he did, full of humorous anecdotes. But then, must be a few years after I met him, he suddenly rang me up out of the blue. He said, I'm putting a pantomime in at the Horseshoe Bar at the Pleasure Beach. And before I could say, what the hell for, he said, could you do the drums, you know? Well, I used to play, as I say, for pantomimes in Manchester. And they were quite a long run. This was only a short run. On the other hand, it's just down the road, isn't it? So I did that. And he offered me other work on the drums. Okay, you know, just so casual. And then, as I say, years went by, and he rang me again out of the blue. He said, I believe you're doing an instrumental act now. You're here, right? Could you do a summer season for me in Southport? I said, well, I'd love to, but I'm doing a summer season in Blackpool. Well, when do you start? Well, end of June. Well, it starts the end of May. Couldn't you do the first month? Yeah, okay. Yeah, why not? And then he rang back. Would you like to do a pantomime for me? Yes, I'd only done 2 pantomimes, by the way, by then. I said, yeah, whereabouts? He said, what about Blackburn? Oh, that's all right, just up the road, yeah. He said, I'm doing Aladdin. Okay, what part would you like me to play? Oh, he said, what about Wishy Washy? I said, what? The best part in the play? The best part in the show? Yeah, of course. Oh, fantastic, that is. Wishy Washy, yeah. Hiya, kids, hiya, Wishy, yeah. I play Chinatown anyway. I've got a washboard for the Widow Twinkle. Yeah, fantastic. All right, he said, well, we're having a press call in August. I'll pick you up and take you to the press call. All right, okay, fine. So August comes along. He comes along in one of his cars, you see. And there's a little comic on the back seat called Frankie Whittle sitting on the back seat. You know Frankie? Yeah, of course. Hi, Frankie. Music Hall Tavern? Yeah, of course. He's the other Chinese policeman with you. I said, what? Are you playing Chinese policeman? I thought I was playing Wishy Washy. I think you're a bit old for Wishy Washy. I thought, well, I suppose he's supposed to be a young drudge, isn't he? I'm 42 now, yeah. Oh, well, a panto's a panto, isn't it? Yeah, it's still black, but yeah, that'll be okay, yeah, fine. Anyway, I felt a bit deflated, obviously, but anyway, we got just outside Blackpool. I said, oh, by the way, who's playing Wishy Washy? He said, Ronnie Hilton. Now, God bless him, he was a lovely guy. He's got to be at least 20 years older than me, of course. I see, I'm too old to play Wishy Washy, so you've got somebody 20 years older. I know the real reason was they wanted a name, some sort of a name, but Dougie was too polite to say, well, they've never heard of you, so he made up the stupid excuse. You're too young. But Ronnie was great, and I think it was through him I got into the 50s shows as well. Dougie put this fabulous 50s show out, you know. It's just 3 singers, vocalists from that era, and 8 other act. And for 3 years, I was the other act. It's fantastic working with those people. Ronnie Hilton, Ruby Murray, Clinton Ford. I did the comparing. Sometimes it was Dennis Lotis, Craig Douglas, Maxine Daniels, a great singer. She was Kenny Lynch's sister. A lovely lady and a lovely laid-back jazz style she had. She was called Maxine Daniels, and I introduced her on the first night as Maxine Sullivan. Now, the worst thing you can do is either forget someone's name and you give them a build-up, or even worse, you get the name wrong, isn't it? There's nothing worse. Oh dear, I've got to apologise. Because there was an American singer called Maxine Sullivan, you see, who oddly enough was very similar. Anyway, I went to her afterwards. I ever so sorry. Oh, it's all right, darling. It's all right, darling, don't worry about that. She spoke like that, you know. Here, I nearly did a record with her. I was going to do a record with her. Oh, really? Yeah. They were going to call it the Two Maxines. Then she went and died. Silly cow, she said. But that was a great show to do. It was packed everywhere we went, you know. Just three singers from the 1950s and me doing the instrumental. And they're very supportive, very helpful. When we go in about 2 weeks, I'd be on the tour, and Ronnie came up to me, Ronnie Hilton, he said, we've decided you should switch your spots round. I said, what? Because we're doing this, you know, offstage announcement, please welcome our musical compere, and it'd be spot there, 16 minutes, and then introduced Clint, then introduced Ruby, and then they opened the second half with just two numbers on the trumpet, you see. We decided you should switch them round. I said, what for? Well, those two numbers you opened the second half with, what was it? Zambezi, a tune called Zambezi by Eddie Calvert, you know, and Chowdy Pink. You should open with those, then keep your main spot till open the second half. I said, what for? They're waiting to see you. He said, no, it'll split the singing up better. And I'll tell you something, it'll go twice as well, that second spot. Well, I couldn't see it, you see, because I thought, well, they're waiting to see Ronnie. They don't want to see me again. And we were at the Beck Theatre in Hayes, I remember, and we switched it round, and it had never gone so well in its life of that, my act. I couldn't believe I thought someone else had come on, you see, reaction. And he comes up to me, Ronnie, afterwards. He said, there you are, you see, what did I tell you? I said, well, I can't understand it. Why is that? He said, because when I introduced you at the beginning, I say, please welcome our musical compere. And you come on and think, oh, he's the compere, and he plays a bit of trumpet. Yeah. Then, when you come on to the second half, you've got the trombone, whistle, tuba, banjo. You see, they think, flipping heck, he does that as well. You see, you've left something up your sleeve. Now, it wasn't a nice lesson for him to give to me, you know, telling me how to go better. They were great at that, giving you suggestions, you know, how you could go better. You know, say this, do that. That was a great time to do that. Three tours I did with that show, yeah. Fabulous 50s. And then there were summer seasons, here, there and everywhere. Mainly for Dougie, you see. He kept giving me work, as he did everybody. We did Skegness, I remember. That was the same year? He ran the show at Skegness, the Embassy Theatre it was called. Well, it still is. And by that time, he'd gone down to 3 days at Skegness. So he filled out the week with doing a night at Morecambe and a night at Southport, which was great for me, living on the coast. Bit of a bind driving to Skegness every week, of course. 3 hours there, 3 hours back. But it was a week. Now then, while I was doing that season in Blackpool, I got playing in jazz bands, quite by chance. And this guy rang me up. He said, I believe you're playing in jazz bands. Now, I knew him as an organist at the Tower, this fella. Ronnie, he was called. He said, I've got this Dixie trio, but I need a trombone player. Do you fancy doing it? We do every Sunday at the Coral Island. I said, well, I'm not really a virtuoso, but I'll have a go. And it went okay. And then this fella rang me up from the Pleasure Beach. I hear you're playing in jazz bands. Yes, bad news travels fast. Why? So we need a band to play for the opening of this ride. Could you put a band together? Yeah, just 5-piece band. I said, yeah, of course I could. Yeah. And it was April, I remember, 1991. We go down there, just play half an hour while they open this ride. And the managing director, a fellow called Jeffrey Thompson, was so impressed with us, he offered us a summer season, playing twice per week at the Pleasure Beach on this bandstand. So that was a great week. I was doing Skegness, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, doing Morecambe Thursday. Morecambe Thursday, Friday afternoon. No, Saturday afternoon at the Pleasure Beach. Sunday afternoon at the Pleasure Beach. Then going straight to Southport to do the night show there, and then going all the way back to Skegness the following week. So following day, so that made a great week. That really, and I think we did 3 seasons at the Pleasure Beach. Just went there to do 1 gig, and it ended up into 3 years season.
Incredible.
Yeah, and other gigs as well. Opening of this and opening of that ride, whatever. By sheer chance, I always said it's the success. What is success? It's being at the right time in the right place, doing the right thing in front of the right people. And that was true. Playing for my dad's Pantomime, inspired by Jack Story, and then been just doing that 1 gig at the Pleasure Beach into 3 years.
Are there any instruments you've tried to play and you haven't been able to master?
Yes, most of them actually, all of them. Piano, underneath. I have a piano here, as you see, but I inherited that. I'm not really a pianist. I didn't need to be because my mother could play the piano, my father played a little bit. So, yes, I'd like to have been a very good pianist. I'd like to be in a very good anything, really. I think possibly reeds. I'm not very good on reed instruments, no. Although I added one to the act called soprano saxophone, it's called. And I saw it in the music shop in St Anne's, actually. I used to go around there to any repairs I needed doing. I'd go down there. Norman Heap, he was a lovely guy. And he had the soprano sax in the window. I said, how difficult to play are those? Because a lot of clowns play them, He said, can you play the clarinet? I said, well, I did try, I gave it up. He said, well, the middle register of the clarinet is exactly the same as a saxophone. Oh, really? He said, try it. So he put a reed in. Do, 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 do. So there you are, you can play it. Well, you might think so, I don't. So, well, if it's that easy, it's worth acquiring, I thought, yeah. So in the 50s show, I did a soprano sax feature. There were 2 tunes in the 2 instrumentals in the 1950s, which were played on the soprano saxophone. One was called the Swinging Shepherd Blues by Ted Heath, and the other one was called Petit Fleur, which was actually Chris Barber's band, but it was written by Sidney Bechet, of course, was a soprano sax player. So that was ideal, of course, for the 50s shows, doing those 2 tunes. Except Dennis Lotis was in it by those times. Dennis Lotis was a lovely guy. He still is, I believe, but he winds everybody up all the time. He said to me, what the hell do you want to play that thing for? What, that Swinging Shepherd Blues? It sounds awful. You think so? Yes, I said because it was a Ted Heath tune. And of course, Dennis Lotis was a singer with Ted Heath. Yeah, I said to Bert Willocks, the sax player, he sounds bloody awful, does that, Bert? I thought, well, if you think it's Bert Willocks, as a beautiful player sounds awful, I don't feel so bad about it. Yes, so that's gone on for years, really. I did pantomimes and tours, summer season, up until fairly recently, yeah. And a story so far, almost. Almost, yeah.
So what characters have you really enjoyed playing in Panto, then?
All of them, really. I can't think of a character. Certainly, as I got on, I stopped playing the... I did little characters like Lord Chamberlain in... what's that in? Snow White, isn't it? Yeah, I did that a couple of times. Not a lot you can do in it, really. We were doing Southport one season, pantomime season, and I come on into the Wicked Queen's boudoir, and the princess arrived, and I come off, then she calls me again, take the prince to his quarters, then I used to run round the back, because there was also the voice of the mirror, you see. There you are, the fairest in the land. Anyway, one matinee, I made the first entrance, sent the prince, and I came off, and for some reason I went straight to the dressing room. I don't know why. I thought, do I usually see this? I don't usually come to the dressing room, do I? Over the tannoy I hear, you were the fairest in the land. Crikey, that should be me. Oh God, Mr. Q. And I'd nip round to the corner, and luckily they had the script on the cross hatch, and one of the little girls had asked me, "Could you read that now?" so, so I come back to the next speech, and I'm back to "You were the fairest in the land." What the audience made of it, I don't know. The mirror suddenly had a sex change in the middle of the show or something. I think the character I liked best was definitely Buttons in Cinderella. I only did it once. That was a Christmas. It was a summer pantomime. Was that? Yeah. But that's a good part to play because you've got the sympathy of the audience. You think the world of Cinderella. You feel really upset when she prefers this idiot prince to you. That was a good part to play. Yeah. But I played Dame, you see, as well latterly, and that only because I had done a few Sunday night concerts for a fella called Stanley Sher, June and Stanley Sher. They lived in St Anne's, and I put a trio together for him to play for this a few Sunday night concerts. He put celebrity concerts on at Southport. Okay, all right, fine. 15 years later, he suddenly rings me up out of the blue. Do you fancy playing the principal comic in my pantomime at St Helens Theatre Royal? He was running the Theatre Royal St Helens by then. Yeah, okay, yes, of course. I thought, well, what on earth? I hadn't heard from him for 15 years. Yeah, of course. I'd never played principal comic before. So I thought, well, this is a challenge. And it was.
How old would you have been then?
Well, as I say, I didn't start doing an act till I was about 40, so it'd be 40 something, would it be? Mid-40s maybe, yeah. Never played principal comic before, but I looked quite slim in those days. I tell you what, it's hard work. Oh dear, yeah. He said to me, now, you're going to make your first entrance on a skateboard. I said, well, stop right there, Stanley. And you go across the green. I said, just a second. You go across the green, just a second, and you collide with the cross arch, proscenium arch on the... I said, just a minute, I don't do skateboarding. Oh, he said, it's all right. We have an old skateboard. You don't need to provide one. I said, no, I don't do skateboarding. He said, it's all right, you'll have tuition. Well, the tuition consisted of me standing, balancing on this damn thing in the wings, and a great big stagehand going, boom, pushing me on. That was a tuition. Well, I mean, I fell off the thing every performance, of course, Made some crack about it. I knew we shouldn't have come down the M6 on that thing. I knew it needs an MOT. And you shout at the kids, they shout back. And then the second scene was it was a schoolroom scene. You always liked a schoolroom scene on it. That meant falling off the form, of course. You have a form with a displaced centre of gravity. The kids are on the one end, you're on the other. They stand up, you fall on the floor. Right, that's fall number 2, yes. And then he had what they call a slosh scene. You know what that is, of course. You're running up and down a step ladder, hanging paper. So you get covered in paste and water. Right? And then you had to completely change and come on in tights, in a tunic, and do a cod ballet with a lad playing the dame with a big balloon. Right. That's only Act 1, is that? And then I did an instrumental spot, of course, on my own. Then we did the chase scene. Yeah, that meant would project a film onto a screen, speeded up, trip down a country lane or something, and you're pretending to be chasing in front of that, dodging all the traffic, which is harder than it looks. Then I confronted the wicked ogre he was in that pantomime, Goldilocks. And then, of course, being the comic, you do the song sheet. But it's very hard work. But I enjoyed it. It's great fun. Reacting with the kids, which I've never done before. You get the kids on stage at the end. And I wrote a song sheet for them to do, sing a little song for them to sing. And and actually, it was that same pantomime. Because I used to say to the usherettes, because they picked out the kids to go up on stage, I said, now pick youngish kids, 4, 5, 6 years of age. Because once they get older than that, they get a bit self-conscious, they get a bit self-aware, and they mess about a bit. But young kids are great, because they're still naive and it's all magic. Anyway, so you get 4 boys, 4 girls on stage, And then they sing this song. You talk to them. Are you married? What did you get for Christmas and stuff? And then we got prizes for all of you. So there's 8 kids on stage, and the fairy comes on with 7 bags, you see, of goodies. So you have someone who's left out. And you explain, I'm sorry you're left out, but we have more boys and girls on stage today than we have presents for. When that happens, somebody gets left out. Well, today it's you. You don't mind, do you? The poor little kid, no. Well, he's been very understanding. Give him a round of applause as he goes back to the seat. No, wait a minute, come back here. We can't let this lad go without anything. Look, he's good as the others. So we must have something. So they come on with a finger of Kit Kat or something. Anyway, you feel better now? No, wait a minute, we must be... And you go on like this. And then they say, well, you've been so understanding, so patient. Tell you what to do. If you close your eyes, I reckon the fairy's got something special for you. The old girl, she comes on with a great big cuddly toy, of course. The kid's made up. But it really only works if it's a young kid, of course. And this particular matinee, I'll never forget. They've been taken over, the theatre, by some social clubs in Liverpool. And they brought all the family. And there was no one under 11 years of age in the audience, you see. So, okay, then. So all these 11-year-olds, a bit taller than me, 4 lads, 4 girls, and I'm saying, bring on 8 bags. Oh, 8 bags, bring on 8 bags. 8, but don't forget, no, there's no one there. So I had to go through this stupid rigmarole. You've been left out, have you? Well, sometimes we have more boys and girls on stage than we have presents for, and somebody gets left out. Well, today it's you. You don't mind, do you? And this damn kid went, thump, hit me right in the face.
No.
Yep. And he snatched the hat off my head, stamped on it, kicked it into the pit. I could have strangled him.
What did you do?
Eh?
What did you do then?
I'm saying, don't bring the cuddly toy on, because he'll hit me with that. I think he's upset. I think he is. And I had a black eye 2 days later. I thought, you little terror.
Or worse that effect?
Yes, more to that effect. A big terror, because he's bigger than me. So he taught me a valuable lesson. Yes, get young kids who are not quite as aggressive.
And Dame, what was that like?
Well, that was the same Stanley show, you see. This was, when would this be? Early 90s. Again, 5 years goes by and rings me up again. Would you like to play the principal comic? And we have a touring pantomime. Oh, great. Yeah, we're doing 2 days in Skegness, again, 2 days somewhere else, 3 days somewhere else, a week at Widnes and a week at Fleetwood. I said, well, that's all right. Great, yes. Okay, oh, fine, yeah. How much would you want? Fine. We'll pay you by the day. Oh, that's great. Not the week, the day. Fantastic. Yeah. Then he rings me back the following day. Do you fancy playing Dame? No. Well, I think you'd make a good Dame. Well, keep your opinions to yourself, Stanley. It's nothing to do with you. No, really. I said, no, I don't do Dame. I don't have any costumes. Oh, we've got plenty. There's a costumier in Preston. Fix you up. I said, well, I've never done Dame. I never even thought about it. He said, well, I could give you some tuition. I said, well, you play the Dame then if you know how to do it. Anyway, it was too good a deal to pass up, of course, being paid by the day. So I swallowed my pride and started putting on the frocks.
Did you enjoy it?
Well, again, it's a challenge. It's something new. I thought, well, who can I... You've got to base it on someone, haven't you, really? Who can I base it on? And there just happened to be a gossipy old lady over the side of the road in those days called Barbara. And I just passed her. I said, hello, Barbara, how are you? Hey, they're at it again, you know, them over you. Pardon? Oh, I know what they're up to, you know. They think I don't know, but they do know. I mean, it's not fair, but I can't park my car outside my house. And I thought, what a great character she is. I'll base the name on her, you know. A gossipy, and she used to lean back on her heels and look up at you. It's not good enough, you know, I told them. That's a great character. I'll base it on her, you know. Fantastic, yeah. So, thanks to Barbara and Stanley, sure, I became a Dame. Quite by default, I suppose.
Would you do that again?
Well, I seem to be sad because once you play the Dame, you can't go back to being comic. You know, you've anyway. Dougie heard about it. They said, "Do you fancy playing Dame?" Oh dear, where at? Ballerine Finesse. Go on then. And Andy was in it, of course. Andy Eastwood, lovely guy to work with. So yeah, my fate was sealed. just by that Stanley saying, I think you'd make a good Dane. Who am I to argue with the people offering you work? You don't argue with them, do you?
Not at all.
But, I've always enjoyed pantomime. It's a chance to do something different, I think, every year. That's the thing that appeals to you, you know. You're not doing an act, you're interacting with other people on the stage. You're acting, which you don't normally get a chance to do otherwise, you know.
And when things go wrong, you've already said how much you've embraced it, but are you actively looking forward to when it goes wrong?
No, you don't look forward to it going wrong. Good heavens, you want it to go right. No, well, I seem to be able to cover it up somehow. I don't know why, whether it's panic or what. I was doing that Buttons I told you about in Skegness, and there's a bit where the wicked stepsisters tear up an invitation to the ball, but you've got another one, you see, and you say, now wait till Cinderella sees this. Now, that's when Cinderella's supposed to come on, and you act all coy with her. And when you're on stage, you're quite aware that the person's not in the wings waiting to come on. Wait till Cinderella sees this. Nothing. Won't Cinderella be surprised when when Cinderella hears this? I think, where is she? I tell you what we'll do. Let's all count to 3. Shall we all count to 3 and shout Cinderella? Let's have a go. Here we are. 1, 2, 3. Cinderella. And I hear this clump, 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 clump going around the back cloth. On she comes. At last. I said to her, did you have a quick change there? No. I said, well, you were late coming on. Well, I wasn't that late. I said, nevertheless, you were late. Oh, I was out in the car park feeding the donkeys. Feeding the horses. We had 2 horses just to come on and take the... She'd been out in the car park feeding carrots, of all things, to these 2 horses. Now, one thing you never do with livestock, you never feed them before their entrance. Yes, you're quite right, they did, yes.
They did.
Yes. I had to make a crack about that, yes. Did you enjoy the horses? I thought they put everything they got into their part. Well, they're wonderful, yeah. Yes, they're not good actors, but you should see the roses we can grow now.
It sounds like secretly you do like it when it goes wrong.
Well, it's a challenge, isn't it? How are you going to cover it up? Yeah. Yeah, you can't plan anything like that. It just comes out, yeah. Like
literally,
like now. I mean, you only came in out of the rain, didn't you? And look,
that's it, yeah.
We chatted about pantomimes for some reason.
Have you ever thought about writing one?
Writing a pantomime? No, never really. Oh, no, my father did. He used to write the script. I've got one over there, a script he wrote for Aladdin. No, I never did. I mean, I write sequences for myself, like with Chinese Policeman. I write 3 or 4 pages of dialogue and the song, and the schoolroom scene. I remember because I did what's that in Babes in the Wood for Dougie, and he said, could you rewrite the schoolroom scene? It's a bit dated, which it was. There were questions like, what do we get from India? Please, miss, India rubber. Well, the kids wouldn't understand that. So I did rewrite the schoolroom scene, brought in topical references to take that, or whatever. I've written little bits and pieces, but not the whole script. Well, no one's ever asked me, I suppose. That's a simple answer to that one.
Well, you never know who's listening, do you?
You never know. You never know. Are there people listening to this?
A couple do. A couple do. I don't
know about now. How long have we had?
Yeah, I don't know. You've been there all week. I don't know.
Comedy's been so important to you as well.
Oh, yeah, very much so. Because in the instrumental act, I do quips and gags, isn't it? Because I'm not that good an instrumentalist. I can dazzle with that. But, yeah, I mean, I had a tuba, which I still have, and I can do 10 minutes on the tuba, you see. 5 minutes of pattern and 5 minutes of playing the thing, and then pulling stuff out of the bell. So, I've always liked comedy, as my father did, of course. Been a big part of anyone's life, really, I should think, in the entertainment business, yeah. You got to see the funny side of a lot of stuff, otherwise you'd never get through, would you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we've had the horrible time, the lockdowns.
Terrible.
So what were you doing during that time?
Well, I cried a lot, and nothing. I couldn't do anything really, because I don't have a second profession. It's all right, what's his name say, learn a second profession. Well, at my age, I never learned the first profession.
Well,
But I practiced. Well, you see, I got mixed up with this museum project, which is on hold at the moment, of course. Performance Network. I did a couple of talks for them until the lockdown came, and I've still got 2 or 3 in hand if they need it. They had monthly meetings, you see, of this Performance Network, and different speakers. Andrew Van Buren did one. Norman Barrett did one. Freddie Davis did one. And I was going to do the one after him, but of course, didn't happen. So hopefully that'll come back, and I've got something to look forward to. I've been, going through it on my own.
You've got your recording equipment as well.
That's right. Yes, I make CDs of myself. You see, multi-track recording, which has always been a fascination of mine. How you can multi-track yourself over and over and over again. Yeah, always been a fascination of mine. I think it was with my father bringing home a record of a fella called Les Paul. He was a guitarist, great jazz guitarist. He's the one who perfected the multi-track technique. Who had this great big recorder thing. We divided the tracks, the same piece of tape, but we divided it into tracks. So we record track 1 and track 1, and track 2 and track 2. Yeah, he's the one who perfected it, apparently. And but the last, of course, 20 years, it's everyone seems to have one. Either as I have a separate machine or on your computer. I prefer the separate machine, of course, because you can't carry a computer up and downstairs. Got a drum kit set up upstairs. But that's a great challenge again.
And where can people get your CDs from?
Well, they're usually at shows that I do. I've got about 4 or 5 that I've completed by now. Yeah. There's somebody that's queuing up now. Look, wait your turn. I keep seagulls. The audience might need to know. I don't want to, but yeah, they sell them at shows. Yeah,
Can you get them online?
I haven't advertised them online. No, not really. No, but anyone would like one.
I'll put your email address on the bottom, and if people want
Please
to get
do.
in contact.
Yeah. Well, I've got. I'll give you one of each. You can, in a rash moment, you might even play them. I don't know.
Oh, thank you. Of course I will. What kind of music have you been recording then?
It's mostly like Dixieland jazz and dance stuff and comedy songs. I did one, just finished one actually, called Daft Songs and All That Jazz. I quite like that one. It's got a lot of comedy songs, which I've always liked. And the other one is called The Seaside Band, which is the first song I ever sang. The Seaside Band, Arthur Askey. Again, it's like dance music, novelty songs, and of course the wartime song. I've done the wartime shows for years, so there's one called Pack Up Your Troubles. That's all the wartime stuff. And another one just called Peters of 8, it's called. That's a clever title. I play 8 instruments and my name's Peter. So it took me a long time to think of that title. Peters of 8.
Again, the comedy, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's light-hearted. It's fun. It's all in fun.
It's all fun.
All in fun. Yeah. It's been a great life, I suppose. Really, I mean, I've never been a household name or anything like that, but it didn't matter. I never wanted to be. Even when I started, I was quite content to do the end of the pier shows with the camaraderie of a small company. And I didn't want to play at the Opera House or the ABC, where you're just the drummer in the pit. And I used to come on in sketches and stooge for Jack Story. He used to put shows on all around Lancashire in the winter. And he'd get me and play the drums, and I'd play the trombone, and he would do his crosstalk act, 2 old fellas sat on the deck, sat on a park bench and all that kind of stuff. It's all good experience, of course. Learning for someone as experienced as he was, how he could extract laughs out of the audience, and some of it brushes off onto you if you're taking notice. Yeah, so it's all good stuff, all good experience.
Where have been your favourite theatres to play? As buildings.
As a building to look at.
As a building to look at. The ones that you
sort of thought, wow.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely the Sunderland Empire. Absolutely staggering inside, that is, the Sunderland Empire. I mean, most theatres, really, but certainly the ones of that vintage, yeah. And the Wolverhampton Grand, the Darlington Civic, but I think the Sunderland Empire seems to stand out to me. incredible inside, enormous place. Where else have I been? The Alex at Birmingham, lovely theatre. Or was it the Hippodrome we did? Either of those, both of those, yeah. I can't think of a theatre that I haven't liked, really. See, I was very fortunate to start off as a youngster in the theatre. You know, I didn't have a slog around the clubs and pubs. Not that there's anything wrong with those, but I never had to do that. Incredible. So I always liked the theatre has been best place, yeah. And those two. Where else could I say? I did the Winter Gardens in Morecambe just before it closed. As you know, it's been sort of semi-derelict ever since 1977, and that was a wonderful theatre. Yeah, one of the first theatres I ever went to, actually. I hope they get it up and running again, because it's a marvellous place. Is that the Winter Gardens at Morecambe? Where else have we been? Southport Theatre. One's on the south coast. Swansea Grand. Yeah, so that lovely theatre is the Swansea Grand.
Is that a Matcham?
I believe it is. Yeah, he seemed to have the knack of. Of course, the Grand Theatre in Leeds must have been my hometown. That is another Matcham. Yeah, he seemed to have the knack of being able to design theatres without theodolites and without computerism. He just seemed to be able to do it. Incredible. I mean, the main theatres in London, who were they designed by? Frank Matcham, yeah.
Have you ever had the urge to go to the Palladium? Have you played the Palladium?
Never played. I've been to the Palladium, yeah. Yeah, seen shows there. I never worked there, no. It's their fault, really.
They've got your number, haven't they?
They've got my number, they know what to do, yeah. Waiting for the phone call, yeah. I keep ringing up Bernadelle, don't get a reply at all. I don't know what's the matter with you. Stuck up news, I don't know.
What about different audiences around the country? You know?
Well, I know Doddy, coming back to Ken Dodd, had a giggle map, did he? He used to say, you can tell a joke in Manchester, they won't laugh at it in London, won't they? Well, they can't hear it. I find most of the audiences I play to are, shall we say, getting on a bit. I think that's a divide. We do nostalgia shows. You're obviously playing to pensioners, but it's a great. We toured around, as you know, with this We'll Meet Again show, and you'd watch them coming in, you know, and you think, oh dear, how are you going to make these people laugh? And they're shuffling in, and they look like they've got all the worries of the world. And you do the show, you meet them coming out, and they're 20 years younger. They're amazing. Oh, we did enjoy it. Thanks ever so much. Yes, I was only 7 when the war broke out, you know. You think, my God, she was 7 in 1939. How old is she now? And they're 20 years younger. And that is a great thrill. I don't care what anybody says. If you've cheered somebody up, you've done a damn good job.
Well, this leads me on to my last question.
Oh.
Your dream pantomime. So, you could be in it.
Yeah.
You could be in the stalls watching it. You can choose the production, the theatre, and your cast can be alive or dead, or a mixture of both.
Oh, like what a question. Dream pantomime. Well, starting with the dame. I always liked, as I think you do, the traditional panto dame. Dame, I'm afraid, to me, if it's an over-camp dame, it leaves me a little cold, because it's not a drag act. It's a thing on itself, isn't it? A pantomime. It's Les Dawson, isn't it? It's a fella in a frock. And I think the finest pantomime dame, I saw some really wonderful ones. I think my favourite is going to be a fella called Norman Evans. He came from Rochdale, and he portrayed the type I tried to play, the gossiping woman, you know. But of course, Norman Evans played the 24/12. He did the nattering woman all year round, of course. But he was a fine day, was Norman Evans. I thought the one of him was incredibly funny. Chatting to his neighbour over the garden wall. Morning, Mr. Brocklebank. How are you? Have you? Oh dear. Me? No, I keep having them hot sweats, you know. They don't know what it's like, these men, do they? How is your husband? How is he getting on, your husband? Is what? Middle-aged spread? Oh, I must get some of that. I've never seen it. I thought the world of no. And Betty Jamel, he was his partner in. She was his partner in Panto. He used to do this hilarious routine called the Pipes of Pan. For love, the better pipes of Pan. Of course, Norman Evans in the long frock and Betty Jamel with the false moustache, the scruffy outfits, and of course big hobnail boots, which used to keep stepping out and walking down the stage and coming back again. Yeah, it would have to be. What about? I think I would cheat actually. I think I would have to have a girl as principal boy, which always used to be the tradition, of course. I know I had to change it for whatever reasons, but I still like the girl playing the principal boy. It's, you know, a big strappy lass. And I did a pantomime actually with Barbara Law. She was a singer, you know, a band singer, and she was excellent, principal boy. Yeah, real up and let's go for it type of fine slapping principal boy. Yeah, she'd be good as principal boy, yeah. Now then, a principal girl. Ooh. When I used to go see pantomimes as a youngster at the Grand Theatre in Leeds, there was a lovely girl singer called Joan Regan, and she played principal girl, and she was exactly right, you know, lovely voice, pretty face. Yeah, she'd make a good principal girl, yeah. Then you need the prince, wouldn't you? If it was whatever pantomime it was, you always have a prince.
You can choose the Panto. What production?
I haven't decided yet. I don't know. What would it be? Would it be Snow White or Cinderella or not Babes in the Wood? Well, if it's Cinderella, you'd need Ugly Sisters, wouldn't you? I tell you, it was a very good pantomime dame who would make a wonderful ugly sister. A fellow called Jack Tripp. He was with the Falderogs for years, with Jack Tripp. And actually, when they used to come here every year to Blackpool, he used to stay down the road, did Jack Tripp, at Jack's Stories, oddly enough. It was again a wonderful... Actually, they would make wonderful ugly sisters, wouldn't they? So that's settled. So we didn't need Norman Evans. Hang on, there'd have to be two Pantos then.
Well, you could have Norman Evans as a fairy.
No, he'd have to be the dame. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry. No, you tell Sir Bernard. No, it's got to be...
Okay.
I'm getting into too many productions here. Who would be the prince then? I'll tell you who. Anita Harris, someone who's still with us. Yeah, I saw her. She was a wonderful principal boy. Not principal boy. She's the prince. Yeah, yeah. So who else would there be? A special act. You'd have a special act, would you, in a pantomime?
Of course.
Oh, so many jugglers, acrobats. Who's a good juggler?
You could have a few.
Eh?
You could have one on each night of the week if you wanted.
Well, a different panto every night.
No, it's your show.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I'll be in it. Yes, I'll be in it as well. Yeah, I'll be an excited villager, I think.
Have you ever tried the one-man band thing?
Not after Bruce Thompson does it. Yeah, I did a panto with Bruce. You know Bruce, do you?
Yes.
Yeah, I did a panto with him. Strange act, but lovely guy. Yeah, we got along great.
But
yes.
Have you ever tried on the big old drum and?
Well, I have one actually. I used to know a guy called John Fawcett, Jacko the Clown he was called, and he gave me it. He never used it. He said somebody gave me it and never used it. See if it's any use to you. You got the bass drum and the cymbal between your legs and the thing, but I could never really get going with it. Really, it seemed too bulky somehow. Then again, everyone does a one-man band act. Well, still have it there. Never used it. Never felt the urge or the necessity or the desperation.
Well, you can have a couple of special acts in this one then. Who would be your choice?
Well, for an instrumental actor, Sid Millward's Nitwits, yeah. They would be terrific, yeah. They probably have to play characters as well if it's a modest budget, but definitely Sid Millward's Nitwits. Special act, magician. Oh, Van Buren, Andrew. Who you know very well, I believe, yeah. Lovely. The whole family, lovely people. Poor old Connie's gone now, but... yes, he was such a lovely guy. And yeah, he'd be the other end with the plate spinning and the juggling and the unicycle and the magic, the cabinets. In fact, he doesn't need anybody else. He could do the show himself.
Which theatre?
Well, I suppose the obvious one would be the Blackpool Opera House, because it's just down the road. And when it was built, it was the largest stage in Europe when it was first opened, 1939, yeah. Great facilities there, fantastic space, great room, and a great, when it's full, it's a fantastic atmosphere. And that was Ken Dodd's favourite theatre, wasn't it? Blackpool Opera House, yeah. Yes, you know the people there went through, you could hear the steam rising as you went through. Yeah, it would be the Blackpool Opera House, it'd be hometown. Or the other Grand, either of those. Yeah, Grand's a beautiful theatre as well. We're very blessed in this town with having these surviving theatres, when you consider all the ones we've lost over the years. But there's two of the finest theatres in the country. Everybody loves to play the Blackpool Grand and the Opera House, yeah. Or both, in some cases. Some of us have, yeah.
Well, Pete, thank you so much for taking part in the Panto podcast.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Pleasure to meet you and chat to all the people. And I hope you're still listening as intently at the end as you did when I first started 3 weeks ago.